Hi, it's Craig from Craig's To-Do List with our Book Buzz. We got our first time Book Buzz live interview, and I'm really happy to sit here with one of our fellow Northern New Yorkers, Ellen Marie Wiseman, who is a New York Times bestseller, and she's here to talk about her new novel, The Lies They Told. Ellen, thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
I really appreciate this. I love talking to you. I want to ask you just one quick fun question. So when it was announced that you're a New York Times bestseller, which is something that not many people can ever say, when did you find out about that, and how did you become? I think it was during the pandemic, correct?
Um,
Was it with the Orphan Collector?
yes. I was actually at my house with my grandkids swimming, and one of them was like, somebody called named John, and it was my editor, and call him back. And so I called him back, and I started crying when he told me, and my grandson said, "Are you famous now, Grandma?" So it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool day.
Well, that's cool if you have cachet with the grandchildren.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if you took out the trash that week and you were like, if you felt different, like waving to your neighbors,
Yeah.
"Hi, I'm a New York Times bestseller. I got great trash over here."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not yet.
Not
but I
yet.
still, have to clean my own toilets and stuff.
Oh, well, hopefully that will change someday. I'm really excited to talk about your new book, The Lies They Told. It just came out in both hard copy and paperback by Kensington Publisher, who is the publisher you've worked with before. Tell us a little bit about the backstory of this book and what it's really about. All your work is meticulously researched, and it's all historical fiction. Mm-hmm. So what you do is take an event or a part of history and then find an inward to a personal story. Can you talk a little bit about that process with this book?
Sure. I first learned about eugenics, which is the beliefs that anyone deemed unfit or defective should be erased. It was really a big movement in America in like the 1920s, 1930s, around there. So I first learned about it when I was researching my World War II novel, The Plum Tree. That's when I learned that the United States was the leader in the eugenics movement, and it was the first country in the world to implement forced sterilization programs, and that the Nazis took many of their policies and theories from American eugenicists. And the book is set in the 1930s. It's about a young immigrant mother who comes to America hoping for a better life for her 2-year-old daughter. But when she steps on Ellis Island, she is immediately faced with the threat of being deported, being labeled feeble-minded, a burden to society, a threat to the American gene pool, which all could result in her being separated from her daughter, deported. And then when she reaches her destination in the Blue Ridge Mountains, she thinks she's safe until she realizes that the children who will be under her care are facing, oh no, they've been taught to hide from the sheriff. And the reason that they're being taught to hide from the sheriff is because despite being U.S. citizens, the mountain people are faced with many of the same threats that she faced on Ellis Island, of being labeled feeble-minded and institutionalized and sterilized.
So basically, she thinks she has a safe haven, and it's not, and that's how the drama escalates.
Right.
I'm going to ask you a question. You have a really great reputation of emotionally hooking your readers with characters that are involved in these situations. I know that you are a person who has a lot of empathy. When you first started reading about eugenics, was there a moment where Ellen, the person, and Ellen, the author, was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this"? Or and did you just have a sense of like empathy for all these people that went through it? And is that how you kind of worked through the process?
Well, yeah, and then when I was researching some of my other books, which were about insane asylums and institutions, I just kept running into these threads that were tied up with eugenics. And as I began researching the American eugenics movements, there was a lot of times where I was really, really shocked by what I found. And I just felt like it was a story that needed to be told.
Well, I think it's a story that most people don't know about. So,
Right.
It's really important. You deal a lot with subjects of injustice. This seems to be your passion, to sort of celebrate the person who has had injustice done to them. Do you feel that that is a topic that we can all identify with, or is this something that you personally identify with? Or it seems like a theme that runs through your books. Is that correct?
Yeah, Do you mean identify with eugenics or all of my?
With like just the feeling of injustice and why we
Yeah.
all feel at one point that we're a victim of injustice.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a whole lot of things that we weren't taught about in school, a lot of social injustices in America. And like you said, I have a lot of empathy for the people that have suffered these injustices. And I think that it's important for people to know about it and hopefully learn about it. And it'll open their eyes to how some of these old ideas resurface in new forms.
Right. So, talk a little bit about what you hope that people get from this book when they read it, readers. I mean, do you want people to walk away with a sense of hope, or do you want them to feel ambivalent, or what is it? Every reader is going to take something different away from it. But what do you hope that people take away from it?
I hope that it entertains and inspires people, but I hope that, mostly it invites readers to remember that all people, no matter their race, nationality, religion, or abilities, deserve empathy and the chance to live free.
Right. Exactly. Well, and I think that's been a lot of theme in a lot of your work, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about your research process, right? I don't know. I mean, you may think it's boring or something, but these books are meticulously researched. What comes first? The idea or the research? Obviously you've written 7 books and they all are meticulously researched. They're all about historical fiction. Mm-hmm. So what comes first? The idea for the story or a character or the historical part of it?
Well, usually it's something that I ran across, just a little blurb or an article, like when I wrote about what she left behind when I wrote about Willard in the Finger Lakes. It was actually from an article that I saw in the New York Watertown Daily Times about the 425 suitcases that were found in the attic.
Yeah, I went to that exhibit actually. In
you
Ovid.
did?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I went to the exhibit in Albany, but I read that same article, and it was a place in Ovid. Like the name of the town was Ovid or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Willard
Right.
State Asylum.
Yep.
Yep. And so now I forgot what I was going to say. My research. So it's usually some little thing like that, and then once I start I look into it a little bit further to see if I can make a story out of it. And then because all of my books feature young women, I know that my main character is always going to be a young woman. So I just try to see how these social injustices would affect that main character and if I can make a story out of it.
Cool. Talk a little bit about your background. So you grew up in the North Country, right?
Yes.
I think a lot of people are really proud that you're from the North Country. And we talked a little bit earlier about your struggle to find an agent. But talk a little bit about your background and your interest in reading. And you kind of got a late start in writing. Was it lack of confidence, or how did you launch that? I mean, did you always want to be a writer, or was it something that kind of developed over time?
Well, I think like in grade school, I used to write stories and love to do that. But I went to a tiny high school in Chameau with, there was 20-some students in my graduating class. And there was never any creative writing courses offered. And I didn't go to college, but I read a lot. I read and read and read. And it just seemed like sometimes I'd read a book and I would be like, oh, I could write one better than that. And so I started writing as a hobby when I was bringing up my children. And I started several novels that were more like the Dean Koontz, Stephen King. Mm-hmm. But then I realized one day that I really needed to write about my mother's experiences growing up in Germany during World War II, and that's how I came up with the idea for the plum tree. So that's what got it started.
Right. And but when you started it, how daunting was the process of finding an agent and getting published, right? I know you must have thought, like, here you are in 3 Mile Bay, probably not connected to the publishing industry at all, correct?
Not at all.
And so, I mean, did you send out query letters, or did you have somebody, mentor, help you? And did you ever feel like this is never going to happen?
Oh, yeah, I felt like that a lot of times. It took me like 6 years of research and writing, and I really didn't know whether I was wasting my time or not. I didn't know if I was any good. And I saw a lot of, thank goodness for the internet is all I can say. Because I found an editor, there's a lot of freelance editors, and he looked at my first 10 pages, because what an editor does is tell you what you've done wrong. And that's how I learned, by him telling me what my mistakes were. And then when I was done, I knew that I tried to read as much as I could about the publishing industry and how to get an agent. And so I spent 2 years writing query letters to agent. And my book was really, really too long. So I had a couple people interested in it, but they said, it was like 280,000 words or something. So I spent like 10 months cutting 110,000 words. And I kept sending out query letters, hoping somebody'd feel sorry for me. But about the 72nd rejection.
72nd.
72nd.
Remember
so
that, people.
72. I was almost going to give up, and then I sent out one more, and that was the one that got my agent. And then he sold it to Kensington in 3 weeks.
Wow.
So once it started, it happened really fast.
No, that's typically what happens. I love the idea. I love the part of the story where you're talking about like everyone told you it was too long, so they wouldn't read it, and then so you revised it, and then you had to. Did you present it to those same people again, or did you have to present it to new people then?
I did, and it's weird because you get some of these form rejection letters, but then you get some that are more personalized. And I think at one point, one of the agents that was interested got a new assistant because she kind of contradicted everything in the rejection letter that the other person said. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it was. Yeah, it was interesting.
Cool. And you have, this is your 7th book, correct? And you have, you're working on a new one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And how far are you into that process?
I've almost got the first draft.
Wow.
Written, yeah.
Yeah. And do you, just out of curiosity, do you have like an outlining system that you use? Do you use index cards? Is it old fashioned, or is it all like computerized now? Or do you sit there and like swear and throw balls of paper into the wastebasket?
I can't imagine writing a book on an old typewriter where you have to. I live for copy and paste, you know, and so I do an outline.
Right.
It's not. I don't always follow it exactly, but I do like to know the ending ahead of time.
Right. Cool. Well, we have both copies here, the paperback and the hard copy, which is gorgeous. And I'm sure, so Ellen's going to be she's doing a North Country swing about. She just got back from Connecticut and downstate. So the great thing about Ellen is she's out in the community all the time. She had 400 people at her book launch right here in the northern New York in 3 Mile Bay, which is appropriate because that's where you're from. Right. And so she's got some other events coming up. She's in Alex Bay on the 9th, at Cape Vincent on the 16th, Sackett's Harbor on the 25th, and then in Clayton on the 27th. I will put all this information into the article or the story that we're going to publish. And are you doing meet and greets here? Are you signing books at these events?
What I do is I do a presentation about the book, and then I take questions, and then I do a signing. And the little bookstore from Clayton is usually at all my events to sell books.
Okay, great. And so always buy locally if you can. If you cannot, there's no excuse for not buying her books because she's a New York Times bestseller, and you can find them everywhere. Is there anything else you want to talk about this book or writing in general?
I just really hope that everybody will give it a chance and kind of, one thing about this book that a lot of people have said and that it's much more relevant than I thought it was going to be when I started researching it 3 years ago because of the way that, eugenics is kind of resurfacing a little bit. And you have to read the book to understand it. But as far as, trying to get rid of immigrants and people that, don't fit the American idea.
Or perceived a threat.
Right. Well, perceived a threat, yes.
Real quickly, I'm just going to go through these other titles. The first one is The Plum Tree. Came out in 2012. Coal River, 2015. The Life She Was Given was 2017. What She Left Behind is 2019. The Orphan Collector, which came out during the pandemic. It is about a pandemic. That was serendipitous. Was 2020. And then you managed to write another one between then and now, The Lost Girls of Willowbrook, which is the Finger Lakes Asylum story, correct?
No, that's Willowbrook on Staten Island.
On Staten Island.
That Geraldo Rivera did an expose on in the 70s.
Okay, great. Good thing you corrected me. But anyway, please pick up a copy of her book. It's really fantastic. I'm about a third into it. And thank you, Ellen, for coming by today to talk to us.
Well, thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
It was fun. And you can see more book reviews and other entertainment news on Craig's To-Do List on our website.